When did he do that?
I was at work again.
When did I do that?
Shh, don't speak to him.
I was at work. I came home, and the dog's cage, I left it in the kitchen. And I came into the kitchen, and there was a huge hole in the top of it. And I asked Sean what had happened. He said the dog had been barking in the cage, and that he had stomped on the top of the cage and broke it.
You mean to stop the dog from barking?
Right. But in the process, he put a huge hole in it.
Wrong.
And I went out and bought a new cage, and then I started keeping the dog up in my room.
In the cage?
Right.
Now, what happened in February of 2001, sir?
I came home from work, and Sean was laying on the living room couch, and he said, "You better sit down." And I said, "Why?" He's like, "Don't flip out." And I'm like, "What'd you break?" And as the time I was sitting down, the dog came down the stairs, limping, and he jumped up on me, on my lap. And I looked at his leg, and it was like hanging, dangling, and the bone was like coming through the skin. He's like, I brought him to the vets. He said that the dog's leg needed to be wired. It was going to be over $2,000. I'm like, what happened? He's like, I was bringing the dog back up to his cage, and he wiggled out of my arms, and he fell on. I had a saw on the top of my stairs, because I'm a carpenter, too. And he said he dropped it on the saw, the dog on the saw.
What time of the day did you leave that day in February?
For work, I left at 8:30 in the morning.
And where was the dog when you left for work?
In his cage in my room.
That's wrong.
Shh! I'm going to get to you. Didn't you understand? What words don't you understand?
All right, I'm all right.
The dog was in the cage when
Yes.
you left. Had you walked the dog that morning?
I let him out the back door. Every morning I would let him out the back door to go to the bathroom, and then I put him up in his cage.
And what time did you return from work that day?
Like 5:30.
So the dog isn't walked between 8:30 and 5:30.
Right. But my other roommate, third roommate, would come home from work at 7:30 in the morning, go to bed, because he worked at night.
Right.
And when he'd get up, he would let the dog out before I got home from work. And then put the dog back in
At
his
what
cage.
time?
Whenever.
Okay. What time did you bring the dog to the vet?
Probably got there around 3 o'clock.
Was that before or after the third roommate woke up?
He wasn't home.
He wasn't home at all?
No.
Okay. And where did you find the dog?
I think he was in the living room,
What was he doing in the living room?
just sitting there. So I was going to bring him up to his cage. I didn't like the dog being out because it would mess in the apartment almost on a daily basis. And I was on my way out again, so I wanted the dog back in his crate. So I brought him up. I was bringing him upstairs, and it squirmed out of my arms. He knew where I was bringing him. He didn't want to go there, probably. Squirmed out of my arms, fell on the saw, made a horrible noise, and then it looked to me like his leg was broken, so I brought him to the vet.
Mr. Whalen, I read your answer very carefully, and it's clear from your answer, sir, that you didn't like this little dog. Could you tell me why?
I didn't like its behavior. It must be over 3 years old. It has not been properly trained. It would just pretty much do whatever it wanted. I've seen the dog on a table eating out of a bowl that I would eat out of, standing up on a table. The thing was untrained. It's not that I didn't like the dog. I didn't like the way it behaved. It should have been taken care of better than it was.
Why did you stomp on the cage?
I didn't stomp on the cage. I kicked it, the metal front.
Right.
And I kicked that, and that
Why
was
did
dented.
you kick at it?
Because the thing it was barking. It wouldn't be quiet.
So that's the way you thought you would get it to be quiet?
A little
by kicking it?
intimidation, yeah.
And the beer can incident.
I don't recall that incident.
Well, try to think hard. He seems to remember that you threw a beer can in the dog's direction, and then you had a fight about it. Do you remember that?
No, I don't.
What responsibility, Mr. Whalen, do you believe you had with regard to the expenses for taking care of this dog?
None.
Why not?
I was simply bringing it back up to its cage, where it should have been.
Had you ever picked up this dog before?
Yes,
Many times?
many times.
Have you ever put the dog back in its cage before?
Yes, I have.
So the dog has tried to squirm not to go back into the cage before?
Yeah, it has.
When you came home on that day in February, Mr. Whalen, did you look around the house to see if the dog had messed in either your room or around the house?
I didn't look around. I just saw him out, and I brought him upstairs. But it had in the hallway where it usually does. Pretty much the same spot
On
every
that
time.
day?
Yes,
Now, when did you notice that, before or after you picked him up?
after.
And when you walked into the house and you saw the dog just sitting in the living room, were you annoyed that the dog was out of the cage?
Annoyed?
Yeah,
No.
you weren't.
Well, I guess a little bit, but I was going out again, and I wanted to put it where it's supposed to be.
Now, you took the dog to the vet,
Yes.
and the vet told you that the dog's leg was broken and needed surgery.
It needed something more than, say, a cast, yeah. So it's going to be expensive.
So can you tell me why you didn't tell the vet to take care of the dog?
It wasn't my dog. I didn't want to make any decisions on it, spending a couple $1,000. I
And-
asked him if he could do anything for the dog, like he gave the dog some pain medication, And I said, probably the owner will probably come back here. I'm not going to make any decisions or tell you to do anything.
Now, when you brought the dog home, where did you put the dog?
I think I just put him up in his room and closed the door.
Mr. Douglas says that when he came home, the dog came limping down the stairs. Had you opened the door?
No.
How did the dog open the door?
The time that I went to the vet and came back, the other roommate had come home.
And?
Maybe he went up and looked at him and left the door open. I don't know.
When
Or
you
maybe
went-
the dog didn't come down like he said.
Well, you were there.
Yeah,
Well, did the dog come down the stairs or not?
I don't remember.
Mr. Whalen, did the vet indicate to you that the dog should be kept immobile until the decision was made about what was going to happen with the leg?
He said it was a pretty severe fracture.
Did he say that the dog should be kept immobile?
I don't remember hearing him say that, no.
Did you think it was a good idea, Mr. Whalen, if the dog had a severe fracture, to put the dog back in its cage when you brought it home instead of just putting it in the room so it wouldn't be walking around with this broken leg? Wouldn't that seem like common sense?
Yeah, I guess the dog could have been in the room just lying there, too.
Could have been, but as you said, the dog was untrained. Dogs not as smart as people. You put the dog in the cage, they can't walk around and further aggravate the break. So why didn't you put the dog in the cage?
I don't know, I just didn't put him in there. I put him in his room and I closed the door.
Your claim, Mr. Douglas, is that Mr. Whalen purposefully caused injury to your dog.
Yes.
That's the basis of your claim. If it was merely an unforeseen accident, he would not be responsible.
Right.
So I have to make a judgment as to whether I believe that Mr. Whalen did, in fact, act in such a reckless manner with your dog as to make him responsible for the vet bills. You understand that?
Yes.
I believe he did. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of
Whatever.
$2,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. Jeter. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Mr. Cochin, there's your claim that you made a loan to the defendant for her to have breast augmentation surgery.
Correct.
And in addition, you paid some of her bills while she was recuperating.
Yes.
You want to be reimbursed for
Yes.
this loan. Ms. Jeter says that there was no loan. You did this because you were sort of infatuated with her, and there was no expectation that you would ever be repaid for the money that you gave her. So let's just cut to the chase. Are you a very rich man?
I do all right.
Yes,
Well-
he is definitely a rich man.
We'll get to you in a second.
Okay.
Do you give to charity? Don't look down. That's a very simple question. The words, if you're a rich man,
No.
you don't. You don't. So you're not a philanthropist.
No.
So there had to be a reason, sir, why you decided to loan money to somebody that you weren't related to for a surgical procedure that was not necessary. You know, she wasn't having a kidney replaced. Why don't you tell me why you did that?
Well, she was a tenant of mine for a while. And when she moved in, she cleaned the apartment up that she lived in. She cleaned it up very well, better than most of the people I hired to do that. So as time went on, as apartments came available, I would ask her if she wanted to do it. And she was making $200 an apartment, doing one a day. You know, at her age, making $1,000 a week, it was pretty good money. We live in Las Vegas, and women with big breasts get better jobs. It's a fact.
She doesn't need that if she's just doing house cleaning.
Correct, but she doesn't want to be a housekeeper forever.
I assume not from the outfit she chose to wear to court that she doesn't want to be a house cleaner forever. You still don't answer my question, sir. My question was, why did you loan Miss Jeter, your tenant/house cleaner, money for breast surgery?
Because she came to me and asked for it. And I thought it would be a good loan because at the time she was making a lot of money for me.
Well, tell me about the time she came to you, sir, and asked you for the loan.
We were at an apartment.
Okay,
And she
you
basically
went,
said she got
Okay, and when was this?
early part of November of '03.
And you say to her, and she says to you, let me have it.
She says she doesn't like doing this anymore. She wants to get into something else, work in the casino. And if she had breast augmentation, it would help her get a good job. So at that time, she asked me for it,
What did she ask you?
to buy her, to loan her the money to get breast augmentation.
And you said?
I don't know. And it took
Okay.
a while, you know, a little bit of persistence over the next couple of weeks, till finally I gave in, said, okay.
Did you ever say to her, why don't you just put this on your credit card since you're making this kind of good money? You can pay off your credit card. Bada bing, bada boom.
'Cause she,
2 months.
She didn't have a credit card.
Well, she could pay off the doctor.
Doctor wouldn't finance her.
How do you know that?
Because she went to the doctor, and the doctor said he wouldn't.
How do you know that?
She told me.
So then you asked her that question. Is that what you're telling me, Mr.
I pretty
Cochran?
much assumed that.
No.
There's no way she
Don't
could do that.
listen to me. Don't assume anything. When I ask you a question, give me an answer. Not a makeup, not a what you suppose.
Okay, what was the question one more time?
The question was, why couldn't she finance the surgery by paying off the doctor? And you said to me, because the doctor wouldn't accept payments. And I said, how do you know that? And you said, well, I just pretty much surmised.
Well,
So the answer is, I don't know.
It's my credit.
I didn't speak to you.
Okay.
You see, what I'm trying to figure out, Mr. Cochran, is if you're going to be honest with me, sir. You left out the fact that you and Miss Judith dated a few times, according to what I read here. Is that right?
correct.
Well, why didn't you put that in? You made it appear as if this was a strictly business relationship, sir.
We went out a couple times. That wasn't a relationship.
How many times is a couple of times?
3, a couple dinners, a movie.
Okay. And at the time that you loaned her the money, when was the time immediately prior to that that you had been out on a date with her?
It was after that.
So after you loaned her the money, you went out on several dates.
3 dates.
Now, after December, did you try to see her again? Did you try to date again?
No, we just didn't really get along. We were just different people.
Is that right?
Definitely.
Did you ask her out again?
No.
Any particular reason for that?
We just didn't seem to get along. We didn't click.
Now, in January, I assume Miss Judith went back to work. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes.
How much money did she give you in January?
On January 12th, she cleaned an apartment for me, which I credit her $200.
Is that right, Miss Jeter?
Yes.
Okay. When's next, Mr. Cochran?
Then on January 16th, which I assume she got paid on the 15th from her job at the time, she gave me $100. Then on February 1st, she gave me another $100. And then on February 14th, she gave me another $100. So she paid me back a total of $500.
Out of how much?
Out of a total of $5,050.
I'll hear you.
He pretty much put it in my head that he wanted to do that for me. Okay, he gave me the idea
just a
since
second. How did he put that in your head?
because I told him that what I wanted to do for a job, okay, and that was cocktail in Las Vegas. I've already been offered a job in Las Vegas to do that, and it's just easier to get a job having this operation done when I had nothing before. And so he said, well, yeah, you know, his ex-girlfriend had it done, and so he told me that that'd be a good idea. So he made me feel like it was okay to ask him to do that. Okay, as far as paying him back goes, nothing was supposed to come out of my pocket cash-wise. I was supposed to just clean his apartments out, but none came available after my operation was done and I was healed and everything. So I had to get a new job and just to pay my bills off, and I wanted to move because it's a bad area.
Yeah, but if I don't have a part...
Just a second. What you're saying to me was it was a loan.
Okay.
And you were supposed to pay him back. Stop twisting your head. Can you keep your head still, please? You look like a
It just keeps
back
getting
of
in
a
my
car.
face. Sorry.
What you're telling me is that what you were supposed to do is pay him back in kind by cleaning the apartments for which you were paid $200 an apartment, and you were going to pay him back from that, but that after January, apartments didn't become available. Is that what you're
Exactly.
telling me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. But you also, in the same breath, said to me that you wanted to get away from that area because it's a bad area. So was it your intention to go back to the complex to do cleaning to pay off this loan?
Yeah, that was before I had gotten my job already, that I had to have to pay the bills to pay to get out of that place.
But that new job, I assume, didn't leave you the same kind of free time
No.
as your previous work, if any, so that there was no time for you, even if apartments became available, to clean the apartments. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Get her a copy
He didn't.
of my book.
He didn't.
Gonna
do his
get
part
her
of
a
the
copy
job
of the
as far as
book.
giving me work. Okay. No apartments were available, so I had to get a job where I could have money, and so I could pay my bills. And he didn't lead up. You know, he didn't live up to his part of the bargain. So
Yeah, but if apartments...
I got
That
it.
was the-
I just laid it out. Sir, did you ever hear the story, there's no fool like an old fool? Right? Right. You're not so old, but you're pretty foolish. Better give your money to charity. Do you understand? There are all kinds of worthwhile charities around. The breast augmentation surgery doesn't fall under that category. Do I make myself clear? All right. She owes you $4,550. She doesn't dispute the amount, only that it was a loan. It was a loan. Pay it back. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I loaned her money and she didn't pay it back. So now we came to court and it's solved, and hopefully I'll get paid back now.
How do you live without money, right? And I have to pay bills, and you know, he's interfering with that, so.
No, we dated a few times and it didn't work out, and that was the end of it. We ended it.
I'm just glad it's over with, and I'll definitely never get myself in this situation again.
I guess justice prevailed. I won.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of McCaskill versus Poole. Step forward, please.
17-year-old student Matt McCaskill is suing his schoolmate, 16-year-old Anthony Poole, and his father, Rob Poole. Matt claims Anthony keyed his truck.
Mr. McCaskill, it is your claim that Mr. Poole, this young man, keyed your car.
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Poole says that he did not do that. I assume you're his father?
Yes, ma'am.
You weren't present, is that right?
No.
You're here only because he's a minor.
That's correct.
You can sit down. When do you say that Mr. Poole keyed your car, sir?
February 25th.
Where?
On the driver's door to the driver's
No,
space.
not where on the car.
Oh.
Where was the car?
Oh, it was at the Midlothian High School parking lot.
What time?
3:40.
And where were you?
I was sitting in my truck.
Well, tell me about that, sir.
It was, I had just arrived, and I was waiting for my girlfriend to get out, and he was in football, which they had got out a little early at 3:40, which the bell rings at 3:45 each day. I had seen him walking down the parking lot. It was rainy, and my windows on my truck are dark, and when he was coming down, he walked between the two trucks and pulled his key out of his...
Walk between which two trucks?
My truck and the truck to the left of me. And he walked through, he pulled out his key out of his left pocket and ran it from the driver's door to the driver's bed, and I had got out.
Okay. Did you know Mr. Poole before?
I have known of him. I've never met him.
Had you ever seen him before?
Yes, ma'am.
Where had you seen him before?
I had seen him at school and the Whataburger parking lot in Midlothian.
Immediately prior to the 25th of February, when had you seen him? A week, 2 weeks?
About a week.
Did you have any conversation with him?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so after you saw him key your car, what did you do?
I got out and started yelling at him to get back, and
To get back where?
to get back over here because of what he had done, in which he had ran to the football fields, or where they play, which is also the baseball field house.
Did you follow him?
Yes, the two eyewitnesses that had seen him were in a 1984 Chevrolet Suburban, in which I hopped in with them and we drove down there.
You have a police report?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see it, please. Did you file the police report on that day, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When was the next time you saw Mr. Poole?
He had ran into the coach's office saying that I was threatening to beat him up, and which he came out running, apologizing that he accidentally did it with his bag and that he would pay for it all costs, and he was sorry. And
who did he say this in front of?
well, the principals had just arrived down there, and the two coaches that were in the coach's office, because they had taken them into his office while I was outside because I was pretty steamed up.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Over here on the map where he was walking between the two cars, one of the kids slammed the door open on his chest, and that's why he was...
Not this
No,
person.
not we're not saying that he did it.
But sit down.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 17-year-old Matt McCaskill says classmate 16-year-old Anthony Poole keyed his truck. Anthony is denying the charge.
Do you have any other school reports?
No, I don't, but I have pictures and estimates.
I'll take a look at the pictures. Is this your truck?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you buy it with your own money?
Yes, ma'am.
How long do you have it?
I just had got it probably 2 weeks prior to the incident.
Is this your first car?
No, it was my second one. My mom had bought my first one, and I told her that she could have it back, and so...
So this is the first one you bought for yourself?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. Poole, now I'll hear you.
I walked out of the football field house. Before then, there was an incident at Whataburger. One of my friends told me some guys were making racial slurs about my girlfriend. One of the guys that he mentioned his name that I knew was in football. I said something to him. I asked them if they had something to say it to me. You don't say it to her, that's disrespectful. The next day, two guys were waiting outside the football field house. They're asking me to come over to the car saying, I bet you won't say something.
Look at me, sir. Don't look all over the place.
Yes, ma'am. They're asking me to come over to the car and say something to them.
Who was asking you to go over to what car?
I've never seen them before, or the car.
Was it Mr. McCaskill's car?
No, ma'am.
I don't know. I'm not following your story. Go ahead. You can't. Somebody wanted you to say something to somebody. Come on.
Oh.
Did you key his car?
No, ma'am.
No. When he was chasing you, why were you running away?
Because of the two people before him. They followed me in the parking lot.
When you got into the coach's office, did you say, I'll pay for the damage? When you, just listen to me carefully, when you got into the coach's office,
yes, ma'am,
did you say, I'll pay for the damage?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you tell your father that you said, I'll pay for the damage?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you tell your father that you said you would pay for the damage?
That night. But I said that I'd pay for it if my backpack left a scratch. He said on the statement that he heard me run by his car and a scratching sound. And I said, there's metal straps on my backpack. I said, maybe my backpack might have caused the scratching sound. Whenever I saw the keying mark, that wasn't from a backpack.
Mr. Poole.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know that if something doesn't make sense, it's usually not true, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
And there are certain things that are common sense. Let me tell you what they are.
Yes, ma'am.
If a 17-year-old spends his own money that he's worked for to buy a truck or a car, that's usually their prized possession. And if somebody damages that car, what they want to do is have the person who purposely damaged that car be held responsible. You want to say something,
yes,
sir?
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Stand up when you're talking.
Okay. Excuse me, ma'am. The only thing that I witnessed physically was the red whelps on my son's chest from the incident with the, over here on the map where he was walking between the two cars, one of the kids slammed the door open on his chest, and that's why he was...
Not this person.
We're not saying that he did it.
He did nothing.
No.
Do you understand, Mr. Poole, what I just said?
Yes, I do.
A 17-year-old doesn't blame somebody else.
Unless
destroying their property, their car.
Right.
Unless it's the person who did it. Unless there is an overriding reason for them to do that.
Or unless he wants a new paint job.
Why would he blame your son? And why would your son say, I'll pay for the damage? What he did was, he caused the damage to the truck, and then he said, maybe it was an accident. Maybe my backpack, that's the story he's telling now, maybe my backpack, as I was walking by, hit the truck and scratched it. So all those things, Mr. Poole, are too serendipitous. The fact that he was there at the time that the truck was scratched. The fact that he witnessed the truck being scratched. The fact that he acknowledged after a chase that, well, maybe it was just, maybe I scratched it, but if I did, it was just by accident. Do you understand? He doesn't say he wasn't there, and he doesn't say he didn't scratch it. He said, if I scratched it, it was an accident. Are you following me?
Yes.
Good. Sit down. Can I see the estimates, please?
Yes.
Got to pay for the damage that you caused, sir. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,196. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Đây là cái sản phẩm tính chất dưỡng phục hồi da Caricella intraderm giảm, và về cái cảm nhận trái ngược so với cái kết cấu, đó là về cái kết cấu sữa thì dưỡng rất là nhẹ nhàng, và nó sẽ chuyển thành các cái dạng tích chất mềm mịn cấp ẩm cho da ngay sau khi mà chúng ta sử dụng, chúng ta thoa kem lên. Và đặc biệt nó sẽ thẩm thấu vào da và không gây bết dính, và cái kết cấu thì nó sẽ chuyển dạng thành cái tính chất cấp ẩm ngay sau khi chúng ta sử dụng, và sẽ hấp thụ các cái tính chất vào sâu bên trong làn da của chúng ta. Và cái tính chất dưỡng dành cho da dầu thiếu cái độ ẩm, nó sẽ mang lại cái cảm giác ẩm, mịn và không bị căng da, và sẽ giúp duy trì cái làn da trong cái tình trạng lý tưởng từ sâu bên trong. Đồng thời nó sẽ loại bỏ cái dầu nhờn trên da và sẽ duy trì cái độ ẩm ngay cả sau khi mà chúng ta sử dụng trong một thời gian dài, và giúp các cái kết cấu da được săn và chắc hơn. Còn đối với về cái tình trạng da cân bằng thì nó sẽ duy trì được cái sự cân bằng về cái lượng dầu và cái độ ẩm trên da, và giúp giảm cái tình trạng là ngứa do cái tình trạng da khô. Thì cách sử dụng chúng ta sử dụng rất đơn giản. Chúng ta sẽ lấy một lượng vừa đủ ra vào ở lòng bàn tay, và chúng ta sẽ bôi đều lên trên cái khuôn mặt của chúng ta, và chúng ta sẽ vỗ nhẹ cho cái serum thẩm thấu vào da của chúng ta. Đó là cái cách sử dụng rất là đơn giản.